Welcome to Chat with Leaders. Our mission is to give resilient servant leaders a platform for sharing the inspiring things they're doing to lead their teams, customers, and themselves wisely. I'm Jeff Bond, Director of Client Services at Berry, and today's host. I'm proud to welcome a terrific person and leader that I respect greatly here in Atlanta, Georgia, Jason Smith, CEO of iStaff and President of the Hightech Prayer Breakfast. Jason, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure. It's nice with what's going on with COVID to have a little spice in the day to do this chat.
And it's a great time. I've found it easier to connect with busy leaders like you during this time where our schedules are a little bit more clear than normal. So it's a gift to be with you. The point of this show, as I mentioned to you, is to give our guests a platform to share what's inspiring their leadership, any specific challenges they're working to overcome and how they're doing that. And any of the principles in their leadership that they're putting into practice to guide their teams faithfully and experience success in this current time. So I want to jump right into it, Jason. This is a question that's been on my mind, and you being in the staffing industry, I think you have some great perspective on this. Have companies been laying people off too quickly in response to the coronavirus pandemic?
That's a yes and no question. No, if your market evaporates. I have a friend that works for a company and they do trade show booths, large ones, expensive ones. So they hit a wall very quickly. And so they're doing their best to be good stewards. They did some pay cuts, got rid of some contractors, trying not to do layoffs, but they came to a standstill. They have innovated, and they're doing portable medical field hospital tents. So that's provided some revenue. For someone like that, I'd say no. I have seen a lot of companies that within 1 to 2 weeks had halved. These are small to medium-sized business. Their population, their employees, and it makes me wonder why. If their market hasn't evaporated, why would you do that?
I think I've been impressed with how prepared your organization has been for this time. I do realize, and I don't want to dismiss how hard it is for leaders of companies that are affected greatly, which is out of their control, to make those hard decisions to maybe furlough or do some layoffs while making prudent decisions to remain an industry leader. But what are some of the things that you would attribute your preparedness to up until this point?
Well, I look at myself as a steward of iStaff. I'm there to take care of it. So if my personal finances are not well stewarded, it can make life-altering changes on my employees. If I have to go in and cut 5 or 10 people because I have to pull a certain amount of money out of the business each month, maybe because I'm overextended, that's really tough. So I think it starts first with leadership being good stewards of their finances so they don't have to make a knee-jerk reaction when something happens, especially within just the first week or two.
Really well said. And one of the things that often comes up in this show is, are we leading ourselves wisely? Are we being good stewards to ourselves and our calling and our resources and God's calling for us? So very thankful that you have that perspective to share with others and how that's positively impacted your business from a preparedness standpoint. I realize that it's probably still hard in some ways, given the conditions right now. Another thing that I was curious about, Jason, with you is, given the spike in unemployment, what has been the impact that you've seen as it pertains to the staffing industry and IT professionals, which is your area of expertise at iStaff, such as workforce changes or how and where people are now going to be going and doing their work, whether it's remote, telecommuting, things of that nature?
So two-part question. First part is, IT has not been impacted as hard or as deeply as other sectors. We at iStaff, we didn't have like a mass layoff. We lost some contractors. These are hourly workers that are working for clients, but there wasn't a mass exodus, a mass let go. Some of our new job orders were put on hold, where clients were saying, we're not sure if we want to bring someone on right now. We want to see where this goes, but the work is still being done. Secondly, the way it's doing is everyone's telecommuting. That's the good thing about IT, is if you're a computer programmer, if you're a DBA, if you're a network administrator, you can probably do your job remote. And as that pertains to iStaff ourselves, we went all remote. We have a team in Dallas, we have a team down in Florida, and then we have a number of people here in Georgia, some that work remote, some semi-remote, some at corporate the entire time. When this hit, we were immediately able to take everyone from corporate, dispatched them home. And it was really a matter of them carrying in 2 laptops, plugging in their docking station, and they were up and running. Everyone had high-speed internet. So that I do consider us fortunate that we were able to do that, and that we had a platform that was robust and just allowed us to pretty much plug and play.
I agree with you. I mean, there's so many industries that are impacted now. My heart really goes out to the people that are in industries where that's kind of out of their control and they just don't have that accessibility, the brick and
Yeah.
mortar shops and the restaurants and so many. I'm thankful also to be in the IT sector where we can still conduct our business and have these types of chats over Zoom or whatever platform that you use. And those are all great points. What should leaders be doing now, given that they have these teams that are more remote telecommuting, to preserve the unity and culture of their teams? What are some of the things that you're doing at iStaff right now to keep everyone engaged, accountable, and attentive to driving the culture, which I know is so paramount to your business?
Yeah, I'd say things that we're doing here at iStaff, part of that is we do small things. Like we have 15 minutes of trivia. We used to call it 10 minutes of trivia, but it's become 15 minutes of trivia. So every day, or usually about 3 days a week for about 15 minutes, we use, I think it's Kahoot, and we play a trivia game. And it's tied in with Zoom. Everyone loves it. It's fun. It keeps us together. We also have we already had a standing Zoom meeting every morning before this. So this was very natural for our team to connect. We want our people that are outside the office, inside the office, to all feel like they're part of the group. And there also needs to be accountability. If you don't have accountability, people don't feel driven. I've been thanked many times from our employees for the accountability that's there. They're like, thank you, because rather than just saying, well, we're not as busy and we don't have as much to work on, we have goals and metrics in place to assure that we're going to continue to produce. And we've continued to place people throughout the pandemic. The speed has slowed a little bit, but the need is still there. And that's what I was extremely excited about.
That's wonderful to hear. And yeah, I think that you still have to keep the activity high. And I've talked to so many sales professionals or leaders of their organizations that are trying to figure out what are the activities that I would do differently now that I am working remote. But the fact that you guys have had that experience and it's not too much different, I think gives you a little bit of a leg up. And I love the other thing that you said about, is it Kahoot? Is that
I
what you
think it's
said?
called Kahoot. So it's an online trivia game where you can play trivia. You can do sports. You can do flags. We even had a guy that did he came up with one where it was his life, his high school. He's like, how many times was I punched in the face in high school, and did I deserve it? And he'd answer, and then he would explain what was behind that. So he's like, absolutely, every single time I did deserve it, and I actually got it. So that was really unique. It was funny. We've had employees do things like that. What sports did I play? Just throw in who was my best friend's nickname. So you can create your own as well.
That's great. And I think that culture is shared beliefs and values, and people really drive the culture, and finding ways to connect more authentically versus having such an agenda, business driven meeting every single day of the week, which can be exhausting, really
Mm-hmm.
helps to enliven and drive that positive mindset and everyone's kind of engagement with one another. So it's wonderful that you're doing that. And that's wonderful inspiration. So one of the things that really interests me in you, Jason, and always has, is your involvement, your leadership. You're the CEO of iStaff. You're the president of Hightech Prayer Breakfast. You're the elder in your church, and you do so much volunteer work through Grace at Work. You lead Bible studies. Your leadership across all these different responsibilities astounds me. And I don't know how you have the time for all of it, first of all. But how does your faith, your values, and your leadership principles guide your decisions to kind of transcend all of these different leadership responsibilities? And how do you stay on top of everything?
Yeah, I think it comes down to one word, and that's joy. I became a Christian when I was 32 years old. And when I did, I quickly discovered that I had the most joy when I was serving other people. Before that, I was trying to buy things. I was starting to make a little bit of money, so I was able to purchase some things, and it kind of left me empty. And at 32, when I handed my life over to Jesus, I learned that by serving others, I was the happiest. I quickly went all in. I went over to Tanzania for a little bit, served over there. I came back. I was like, that was a lot of fun. And I found that I can do that right here in my own community. While it's fun to go overseas and serve and help, this community will allow you to do that. Like right now, my wife and I are involved with North Gwinnett Co-op. We volunteer there. We're tied in there. And we came up with a fundraiser where we are painting the mailboxes in our neighborhood for $75. And the money goes directly to North Gwinnett Co-op. I pressure wash. My wife does the paint. So far, we've raised around $3,400 this week alone.
Wow.
And you just find time to do it. We have a system where I find time to go wash. She finds time to go paint. The neighborhood's beautified, and a wonderful organization is going to receive money for it.
That's remarkable. And I've found that in my life too, that life has so much more meaning when you're not the most important person in it, and you center it around service. And I've kind of identified my own personal purpose as to serve others in a way that glorifies God and furthers his kingdom. And this show is I said this in my last show, that it is a faith-based show, but it is not centered only around Christianity. We like to inspire leaders from all different faith backgrounds and hear their perspectives, but having that centered around service and ways that you're a servant leader. People kind of coin that phrase as unique, but I don't really think there's any other type of leadership that there should be, quite frankly. And your servant leadership in Atlanta is immeasurable. The impact that you have and the service that you're doing both here and abroad over the years has been a blessing to others. Jason, I'm going to close the show here. I always like to end with kind of a call to action or a key takeaway that is centered around the here and the now and forging ahead faithfully. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask if you could share what you think is kind of that one key thing to really focus on right now.
The one key thing to focus on is basically serving with excellence, no matter what you're doing. Right now we're in the middle of the pandemic, and don't let that be an excuse. If you have a little bit extra bandwidth, find something to do with it. Find something healthy, find something good, help somebody. If it's work with excellence. If you're at home, you're entrusted to work from home, do that with excellence. If you're volunteering, like I volunteer with Hightech Ministries, do that with excellence. Do it with all your heart. Just don't mail it in. I find that people that mail it in are usually unhappy. They're just trying to get by. And I don't want to just get by. I want to thrive. And if I'm going to thrive, I need to work with excellence. Do the best I can. Leave the rest up to God. Yes, I'm not trying to earn anything, but thrive by working with excellence.
I'm so glad I put you on the spot for that, because you said it so much more eloquently than I think that I would have been able to gather up. So thank you for that. And how would you like for people to get a hold of you or learn more about iStaff or Hightech Prayer Breakfast?
The easiest way is to find me on LinkedIn, Smith, Jason Smith, a little bit of the common name. If you put in iStaff, Jason Smith, it should find me. Happy to connect, happy to message, happy to have a phone call if it's needed, or a Zoom or whatever. I try to make myself as available as possible.
Excellent. And we will also post the show notes as well as this conversation on our website, chatwithleaders.com, as well as all the different podcast channels. We'd be so grateful if our listeners would subscribe, rate, review us on Apple Podcasts. That helps us get the message out there and that inspiration to other leaders. You can also email our team at info@chatwithleaders.com. Jason, thank you again for your gift of time today. It was such a pleasure.
Jeff, I enjoyed it. Thank you. I've been looking forward to this all week.